Matt, sometimes on the prelims, you might not get excited for a fight. You might say, hey, I'm going to skip this one. But this is a fight that you definitely shouldn't skip because you have Boston Strong Charles Rosa taking on the Angel of Death, Kevin Aguilar, at 145 pounds. And Matt, there's a lot of reasons why this matchup is very interesting because Charles Rosa, we saw about a month ago taking on Bryce Mitchell. And I've rarely seen fights that have been scored 10-8 that took place primarily on the ground where a guy was fishing for submissions. Charles Rosa got absolutely beat up. But in terms of damage overall, probably didn't take a lot. Now we're going to see him competing a month later against a very, very good wrestler in Kevin Aguilar, a guy that took a lot of time coming up in LFA, comes into the UFC, big win over Rick Glenn, big win over Enrique Barzola. But then he takes on two very tough tests in Dan Ige and Zubair Takigov in his last time out, got finished in that fight. So Charles Rosa got ground out in his last one. Kevin Aguilar got finished in his last one. You kind of want to come in here. You want to get a win, especially for Aguilar riding that 2-fight skid. What do you make of this one? Because Charles Rosa, we know how good it's weird. You saw his last performance and you might say, well, Craig, he's a bad grappler. Well, he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, so he's not that bad. It's just Bryce Mitchell is that good. But Charles Rosa on his own, go back to the fight before that, where Manny Bermudez just got lazy and Charles Rosa just whoop, 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 just slipped right in there and got the submission win. Whereas Kevin Aguilar, good wrestler, good pressure on the feet. What do you make of this fight?
I think it's an interesting fight, but I think Charles Rosa is going to have what I'm just going to call the Louis Smolka effect. I think Kevin Aguilar is quite a bit better at wrestling, and I think that's going to pay off throughout the fight because Rosa, like you said, he is a good grappler. He's not like a Charles Oliveira, a Bryce Mitchell, a Brian Ortega, who they've got that like one shot, one kill jiu-jitsu where it's like, okay, if you think about the power that, for instance, Anthony Johnson or a Francis have in their hands, there's some guys who are just so good at the ground. That's what it's like being down there with them. Gilbert Burns, I'll throw into that category. Herbert is there too. I think Rosa's a good enough grappler that he's comfortable off his back, but I don't think he's good enough that he's going to be able to catch Aguilar in something when he's going for those takedowns. And I think it's going to be an interesting fight, though, just because on the feet, Charles Rosa does have that. He's like a knockoff Gunnar Nelson where he stands in that karate style. He does, he lunges in with a lot of his attacks. But the problem is when he does lunge in, I think he's going to leave him open for the takedowns. And I think Aguilar is just going to be able to go takedown after takedown after takedown after takedown and kind of put on a bit of a wrestling clinic in this fight.
Yeah, and I would hazard to agree with you. I'll get into the odds. Aguilar minus 160 favorite. Charles Rosa sitting at around a plus 140 underdog. If you look over on Tapology to 387 votes, 67% going with Kevin Aguilar to get the win, 78% predicting a decision win for him. And I think that's kind of the business as usual approach. I mean, you look at Kevin Aguilar, he takes on Enrique Barzola, who has kind of a similar style to Aguilar himself, where he's good at wrestling, good in the scrambles, and his striking's not too bad. Rick Glenn, really long guy, kind of quite well, actually, I was going to say kind of some power on his shots, quite a bit of power on his shots. Look at Gavin Tucker. He did not fare so well in his fight against Rick Glenn. But in terms of this one overall, I would agree. If you can chain wrestle, if you can at least throw together some combinations on the feet, you have to also consider the 4-inch reach advantage of Aguilar in terms of what he's going to be able to muster when the fight is standing. But I would certainly expect this one to go to the ground. Your pick is Aguilar?
Yeah, I think Aguilar, he's good enough on top that he's not going to leave himself open to get submitted off the ground by Rosa. But I do think it should be an entertaining fight.
Should be an entertaining fight. Really looking forward to it. ATT's Rosa taking on a tough out in Kevin Aguilar. Matt, you're not going to want to miss the rest of our predictions for this card. 2 minutes for the main card, 2 minutes for the prelim, 5 minutes for I and Calvillo, if you can even believe that. And Matt, as we always say, with Fight Night picks, let's get into it.